Can you hear me now? Is it working now? Please tell me it's working. Yes, you guys can hear me. Okay, that was weird. I don't know what happened when the stream started, but so anyone new tuning in, apologies. Normally we don't start like that. Um, Everything just kind of went black on me as soon as I started the stream, and the camera went off and it came back on. Did not know the sound went off and came back on. So that was weird. Um, but hopefully we're good now. But welcome in, guys. I'll do my intro again. Welcome into the Shecago podcast, where I'm Alexis Jade and we talk the Chicago Bears. Hope your guys' weekend is going well. Hope you can see and hear me okay, since clearly StreamYard did not want to be my friend this morning. But we are here to discuss the Bears versus Cardinals game. This was one that I had when the schedule first came out. I had predicted this as a Bears win, but could be a toss-up because I was curious to see what the Cardinals looked like at this point in the season. And, as the saying goes, it's not about what teams you play, it's about the time of year you play them. Cardinals didn't start out hot. Packers annihilated the Cardinals, but this seems to be a Cardinals team that is starting to find its footing, which doesn't bode well for a Bears team that started to find its footing, had a bye week, and then completely fell off. So this game is shaping up to be I think it's going to end up being a close game. I think this is going to be a tough one. And if you would have asked me that when the schedule first came out, I probably would have said that I think if the Bears have improved by this point, this would be a win in the Bears column. And now I'm a bit nervous heading into this game this week. I got to be honest, I'm always excited for a Bears game. This week, I have less excitement and more, not even nerves. I have the feeling of like, please don't disappoint me, is more so my feeling right now. I feel like last week it was a major disappointment. And if the Bears flop again this week, I'm nervous that this is an indication of a team that's just not going to do well the second half of our schedule, knowing how difficult our schedule gets. So I think, yeah, I see the word dread in here, potentially. I don't want to be too dramatic and say it's dread, but at the same time, this is a game that if we lose this game, not only is our playoff chances slim, but it's also not a good indication of where this team is headed. Yeah, it makes me really nervous. And I really, really, really hate repeating the cycle again of getting a rookie quarterback and then changing out the coaching staff the next year, but it sure is looking that way. And I don't know. I'm not trying to go into full meltdown mode before we even get into the details of the game, but I just feel a little bit. Yeah, Rome anxiety is probably a good word. It's a bit like, this game kind of holds a lot of weight, even though it's not a divisional game. It's not a very important game. What is up? Welcome in. I just don't. I don't know. This game holds a lot of weight. Must win, in my opinion. It's definitely potentially a must win. Yeah, I mean, I guess it is a must win. I hate throwing those. I feel like we as Bears fans throw those must wins around like they don't mean anything. But at this point, I would say today's game is a must win, because if we have any hopes of being in the playoffs, it's a must win. If we have any hopes of hope for this team for the rest of the season, it's a must win. Because like I said, our schedule doesn't get any easier. So it's not so much that if we lose this game, our record is so bad we can't catch up, because we could go undefeated the rest of the season and win the division. But it's more so if we lose this game, it's a negative indication of where this team is headed. But that being said, if StreamYard didn't, delete my stuff again this week, I have some slides for you. So let us get into our game here. So For some game takeaways. Now, like I always say, these pre-game podcasts tend to be shorter than my post-game solely because um, I do them before the game starts, and in doing so, I want to make sure everyone has time to like get to their respective games before kickoff times, and I also need to set up my setup before kickoff time and so on. But I always live tweet during games, so if you're looking for my commentary, my opinions, my screaming at the TV during the game, I do live tweet. Also, in 2 weeks, we talked about this on the other streams, and I think I'm making it official. I plan on going live for the Bears versus Packers game, doing a live stream during that game. So if you're looking for some live stream action during a game, tune in for that because that I think will be, I say a fun one, but it could be a very not fun stream depending on how the Bears perform. But let's get into our key takeaways for today's game. So, like I've kind of already introduced the podcast here as this is a must-win game. It is against a team that isn't necessarily a great team, not a great defense, not a great offense. However, they're starting to find their stride. The Bears, on the other hand, seemed like they were finding their stride, and now we're back to having a bunch of questions about them. So it seems like if you're talking momentum and you're talking who has the kind of edge going in without looking at the rosters or anything else, I would say right now the momentum is favoring the Cardinals. So the Bears really need to come out here with a strong mindset. Away game, there's going to be a lot of Bears fans in attendance. I do think, even though this is an away game, it's going to be more like a home game. There's Bears fans are a very much traveling team, and Bears fans in Arizona, it's game over. There's going to be a packed house of Bears fans in that stadium. We can almost guarantee it. So hopefully that juices up the crowd a bit. And just some keynotes that aren't on my keys to victory. I also think I'm hoping, I think we're all hoping for a better game from Caleb Williams today. Because no matter how big of a fan you are of him, you have to admit that last week was not a good game. He pulled it together a bit in the fourth quarter, but it was too little too late. It was a terrible 3.5 quarters from him and the offense. And he seemed too juiced up, too nervous, too anxious. I know he says he doesn't get nervous, but everyone gets nervous. I didn't believe that for a second. And it showed in last week's game. And I'm hoping, he's able to calm down a little bit. This game doesn't have as high as stakes. I mean, it does in the sense of we need to win, but there's no external pressure from the NFL world on this specific game. So I do think that hopefully he's a little calmed down this week. He's a little more chilled out, and he's a little more accurate. So that's what I'm hoping to see. And I will get to some of your comments here before I get into my keys to a victory here. Let's see, Alex, let's get it today. God, let's hope and pray to the football gods. Kiva, I am interested to see how the Bears bounce back after a catastrophic loss. I believe this game will be indicative of how the rest of the season will go. This game is a must win, in my opinion. Agreed. Agreed on every point. I think seeing how they bounce back is big. The reports of the coaching staff, this came out like last night or this morning. The players are saying they want the coaching staff to be held to the same accountability that the players are, which is not a great report to come out. And the devastating loss. How do they respond? How does this team respond? How does this offense start to get its bearings again? So, yeah, I agree on all fronts, and it's definitely a must-win game. Matthew, Caleb must bounce back today. The Bears need to start using Odunze more. He always seems to be open. That is a very good point that I did not add on my keys to victory that we'll talk about in a few minutes. But Odunze, I've said this probably every stream, so if you've heard me repeat it, I'm sorry. But if you don't watch any film after the game or anything like that, you kind of just watch on Sunday, turn off the TV, and move on with your week. You may think that Odunze is not doing anything, that he's, underperforming as a rookie wide receiver. The dude is getting open. The dude is killing it in his routes, and he is just not getting targeted. And his stats aren't really reflective because even though it will say he has X amount of catches for how many targets, and it makes it look like he's not coming down with the ball, half the targets going his way are Caleb Williams either just overthrowing him or throwing the ball away to Rome Odunze's side. So his attempts aren't really accurate because he hasn't really been getting quality throws to him, and that needs to change. Rome Odunze needs to start getting targeted, and if that means changing up where he is in the progression so that Caleb sees him first, then do it, because Rome is getting open, and and that's I totally agree. Odunze needs to be used way more. Lions fan, yes you are. Hopefully people here can at least be against the Packers for this game. Yes, on this event, I am rooting for your team. Go Lions. That feels very weird saying it, but go Lions. Please defeat the Packers and embarrass them. Don't just win. I'll take a win, but please embarrass them. Just annihilate them, and I will be happy. Can you show your cup? Yes, this is my cup. This is my coffee mug. It is, does anyone want to guess what it is? You can. Here, Rome, I'll make it even closer for you. There's my mug. Here's my mug. Whee. I have a feeling you know what my mug is, which is why you wanted to see it. F Green Bay. Agreed. Yes, Rome, you got it right away. It's Amsterdam. This is an Amsterdam mug. I got this one at the airport. I have 2 more mugs that are technically gifts that I keep forgetting to give to family members that are 2 more mugs that are Amsterdam mugs as well. But let's get into, I need to stop clapping because that's not good for my mic and I hear it afterwards. So apologies for my claps, but I don't know why I do it. Anyways, let's get into our keys to victory, shall we? So, starting us off, keys to victory, stop Kyler Murray. Kyler has been on a hot streak. After his whole ACL injury, the past season wasn't great, and he's back to full mobility. Kyler, I tweeted a stat, and I'm not going to quote it verbatim, but I tweeted this week that with our Bears injury report, I'm nervous because we're going to be down Jaquan Brisker. We're going to be down Kyler Gordon. Tyreek Stevenson is not starting, but I do think he's going to play the game because the Bears just can't afford to not have him play. And Montez Sweat was a DNP on Friday. Now, I know they said after that they had actually given him a rest day to help him heal his shin, but Sweat's been dealing with injuries since the season even started. And I think even if Sweat plays, I don't think he's going to be in for every snap count. So that has me concerned. And Kyler Murray has gone 3 consecutive games without taking a sack. And that's a kudos to the offensive line, but that's also a kudos to Kyler Murray, who is simply just evading sacks. He's moving around the pocket, he's scrambling, he's getting away from sacks. And if Montez Sweat isn't playing or on a limited snap count and some of our starting secondary is down, it could be a long day for this Bears defense. Kyler Murray, I don't know. Some people say Jaden Daniels, they were more worried about playing than Kyler Murray, but I feel like people aren't giving Kyler enough credit for his elusiveness in the pocket. So I have concerns about Kyler Murray, and if this defense is facing multiple injuries like that, especially on the defensive line, it could be a long day. So a key to victory is they have to find a way to stop Kyler Murray. They have to get some pressure on him. If he's able to evade every sack, he's just giving his wide receivers more time for scramble drill to get open against the Bears secondary that is missing some key starters. So the Bears defense has showed up every week, not every week, but the past few weeks I've said I'm nervous that the 21-point threshold would that the Bears defense has been limiting teams to would be broken. And I continue saying that this is another game where I'm a bit worried that the offense might be pushing that. I do think the defense can handle the Cardinals offense, but we can get into a pickle if we start letting Kyler Murray run all over the place. So that is my first key to victory: is you've got to find a way to stop Kyler Murray. Number 2, Caleb Williams improvement. Now, we kind of already touched on it, but Caleb Williams did not have a good game last week. In fact, he had a terrible game last week. And I know he had a better fourth quarter, but you can't just erase the first 3.5 quarters. His first 3.5 quarters of football were bad. He was not accurate. He was throwing the ball everywhere but to the receiver's hands. He still has an issue with his deep ball. If that's one thing, I didn't put it on a key to victory because I wouldn't necessarily say it's a key to victory this week. But Caleb Williams' deep ball, we need to see that start improving. And I know, like, I tweeted it and some people quote tweeted me the throw he made to DJ Moore late in the fourth quarter. And I'm like, yes, that's a great throw. Let's see that consistently, though, because Caleb Williams making one accurate deep ball pass for every 15 attempts is not good. Like, I have high hopes for Caleb Williams. I think he will be the franchise QB. I think he's immensely talented. He's a rookie. He's going to have struggles 100%, and not all of it's on him. A lot of it's offensive line, a lot of it's play calling. However, if there's one area that you can say is pretty much strictly on Caleb Williams and him needing to get it together, it's his deep ball accuracy. His deep ball has been erratic, not accurate, overthrows, underthrows. It's like he just can't figure it out. And I think he will. This isn't me saying that we're doomed and we are going to forever have a quarterback who can't throw deep, but it's something that I thought we kind of would have figured out by now. I didn't think we would be going into this week still talking about it, and we are. And if we come out of this game and there's still multiple deep ball overthrows and misses, I don't want to say like I'm concerned, but I am concerned. Mainly, like, what is being coached to correct it? And how do we get this corrected for next season now? Because at this point, this deep ball is not connecting for the rest of the season. So Caleb Williams' improvement in general, especially his deep ball, because we're going to need that. Like, that will be a key to victory coming up against these divisional games, because the Packers offense, the Lions offense, the Vikings offense, if we want to keep up with them, we have to have explosive plays. And right now we are very much lacking in the explosive play department. And part of that is Caleb Williams not being accurate with the deep ball. So if we want to catch up with those teams and keep up with those teams, that's going to be vital. Now, for this week, Caleb Williams just needs to have a better game than last week. I want to see some more accurate passes. His changing the call at the line of scrimmage, I think, is good. But I also think sticking to what the coach calls is good. And I think finding that balance is important, because I do think we're starting, especially with the shaky offensive line this week, I think too many changes at the line of scrimmage is going to cause us to have a lot of false start penalties. And so we have to be careful of that this week. But Caleb Williams having a better game this week than he did last week is going to be vital to the Bears winning, because we can't have another bad game. And honestly, I don't want to see a mediocre game. I want to see him get back to what he was doing before the bye. Now, first quarter offense. I've said this probably every week, and we have yet to see it. But Caleb Williams and this Chicago Bears offense and Shane Waldron need to score in the first quarter. Our opening drives have been abysmal. Almost every opening drive we have has been 3 and out. Our first quarter, we have scored a field goal. I mean, it has been absolutely terrible. And we are not going to continue to be able to squeak out victories if we can't score in the first quarter, especially when we get into these divisional games in a few weeks. So, first quarter offense, we need to see it improved. We need to see, and this Cardinals defense is nothing to write home about. They're like middle of the pack. So if this Bears offense wants to get going, they should be able to against this defense. However, we said that last week against the Commanders, and that didn't happen. But um, you need to start hot. You need to at least get some points on the board in the first quarter. You need to get, and it's not even just getting points; it's also getting a rhythm established, getting momentum on your side, because right now the Bears offense is also so severely lacking any momentum or rhythm for the entire first half. Even the games where we had really good games, it really wasn't until the second half that the offense started to find its rhythm and start moving the ball consistently down the field. And part of that is because we're so lacking in the first quarter. Um, and especially for a rookie quarterback, finding a rhythm and establishing a rhythm and getting momentum is very, very important. And the Bears have not been able to do that. And part of that is Caleb, part of that is a bunch of other external factors. So if the Bears want to be able to come away with a win here for today, for any week, you got to start scoring in the first quarter. And I honestly think this, with our defense facing some injuries, if the Bears struggle again mightily in the first quarter, it could be too much to bounce back from. So first quarter offense is a must. And finally, offensive line. I have offensive line on here because I don't know if we even have one this week. We are facing a plethora of injuries on the offensive line. Sorry. And on top of that, Tevin Jenkins, who's starting, has been dealing with injuries throughout the season, and nothing that's kept him sidelined from a game, which honestly, people who want to knock Tevin for his injuries, last season he played the majority of the games last year. He had the stint of his calf injuries at the beginning, the first 4 games, I think, of the season last year, but he started the rest from what I recall. And this year he's had some games where he's gotten banged up, but he's started again the next week. He's come back in the game. But with someone like Tevin, who is injury prone, I do worry that he's been getting dinged up so much, and that if he goes down this game, man, I don't know. It's especially with Caleb already having issues the past week with accuracy and finding a rhythm. Having your offensive line have so many injuries is definitely not a way to improve that. But there's nothing Caleb can do about that. There's nothing the Bears coaching staff can do about that. You just have to take what it's given you. So today, it looks like, actually, I'm trying to find if we have an official updated offensive line for today, because I didn't pull this up before. Let me see here. Because Amagaji also got hurt, who was our backup, so he's not going to be in. We are going to have Larry Borum in. And so I don't know. Our center is not good. Like, I just worry about Caleb for this game, because as much as I'm saying Caleb needs to improve and find a rhythm and everything else, if the offensive line can't give him any time, we're going to be in for a tough game. So I don't know, guys. This O-line might be a big factor in today's game, and that's why I have it as a key to victory, because maybe it surprises us and it outperforms what we're expecting. But if it can't, this O-line could make it very, very difficult on Caleb Williams to find a rhythm, to start getting some accurate passes in, and allowing plays to set up for any explosive plays. I just hope that Shane Waldron, knowing that we have offensive line injuries, I hope he's utilizing those tight ends. I hope he's got Mercedes Lewis just lining up on that left side to be backup left guard, because I I don't know how else Caleb Williams is going to get a pass off today. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope this offensive line performs better than we expect it to, but I'm nervous. I'm nervous that this offensive line is going to give us some issues. So before I give away my prediction, I'll hop back in here to go over some comments here. Let's see. I got you, Alexis. I will hope the Bears will do well to match even if it doesn't benefit us. One embarrassed Packers team coming up. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for putting the word into the Lions team. And you know what? The Bears, in a way, the Bears winning kind of benefits you because now the Packers have a loss and the Bears have a win, which just makes us tied again in our win-loss score. Does it make us tied, or are we still one game behind them now, even with a win? Maybe we're still one game behind. But either way, now it just makes the division that much closer. But the Lions, if they come out with a win today, are still mightily ahead. So either way, someone's got to lose, and it better be the Packers and not the Bears. How long have you been a Bears fan? My whole life, since the day I was born. Literally, I think the day I was born, there was a White Sox game on. Is the story that's been told, and the Bears won, or the White Sox won that game, and since then, it's been instilled in me to be a Chicago sports fan, and I've been a Bears fan for my entire life. I'd watch Bears on Sundays with my grandpa, and yeah, and it wasn't really like I was definitely more of a casual fan. It wasn't until I got older because, my grandpa wasn't like super invested in the Bears. Like he watched them, but he wasn't like, he wasn't a film dude. He played football, but he was kind of just like, I hate this team. Like they suck all the time. So he turns them on, watches them lose, and is like, this sucks, and then doesn't talk about it the rest of the week. And other than that, I didn't really have anyone to like explain to me how football worked or anything. And because I'm a girl, people just, like you don't really get that, or at least you didn't get taught anything about sports that were predominantly like occupied by men. Also, this is a stain on my thing, guys. Sorry about that. So it wasn't until I got older and was able to start like watching the games myself and start teaching myself about the sport that I really became like the fan I am now. And the same goes for hockey. I taught myself everything about hockey and became like a diehard. I was already a Blackhawks fan, but became like knowledgeable in the sport as I got older. But how long have I been a fan? My entire life. How long have I been like a fan who's this invested? Probably like 5 years, maybe more. No, probably more by now. Time goes by fast. It's probably been like 10 years since I started like really diving into the game. Tyreek is not starting. When does he get in the game? Honestly, I think the Bears can't afford to have him not play. I think they're going to have him not. Who is it? Is it Terrell Smith that's replacing him as the starter for this week? For anyone who doesn't know, Tyreek Stevenson is getting punishment for his Hail Mary not paying attention debacle, which I think is warranted. I don't disagree with what the coaching staff is doing with this. You have to set a precedent, but I think depending how well Terrell Smith, I think if I'm saying the right player, is playing, if like he's doing well and it's going all right, they're going to keep him in. But I think after a period of time, they're going to send in Tyreek Stevenson. I don't think he sits the whole game out unless the defense is just annihilating and they really don't need to like mess up who's playing. But I think Tyreek will play probably at some point in the first quarter, maybe the beginning of the second quarter. I don't think it lasts very long. Like I said, unless the Bears defense is just killing it. Got to go after the toddler. Don't let him run away. I hope so. The Bears struggled a little bit against Jaden Daniels, which I also find funny because we had Justin Fields for 3 years and like he's still one of the most explosive runners at the quarterback position. So like they practice against him all the time. So how is it that this Bears defense was like ill prepared to go against a mobile quarterback? I don't really understand. Also, Caleb Williams isn't necessarily a runner, but he's still mobile. So I don't know. I find that odd, but I guess what do I know? Yo, what is up? What is up? Quinn is back. She is streaming. She streamed a week or two ago. For anyone who doesn't know, this is a Fortnite streaming question, but yes, she streams. She is back. Um, I've been wondering if the Bears have too many options for Caleb to establish a deep connection with any of them yet. Most teams have only one or two of their new QBs that seem to get the first look. I see what you mean, potentially. I just think, mm, like, okay, I don't know. That's tough because I think you have a valid point, but at the same time, I question, like, the receivers are just they're good. Like, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, like, chemistry is great and you need it, but, like, those guys are good enough that you don't need, like, a plethora of just, like, really building a bond with one specifically to connect. Like, those are good wide receivers, and they will get open, and they have been getting open. So, like, I don't know. I can see maybe the chemistry issue, but then again, I thought Caleb and Rome had developed some chemistry early on. Obviously, they were drafted together, and then the reports out of training camp. But I, I'm assuming it's the progressions, but Caleb just doesn't seem to really be targeting Rome that often with quality targets. And I don't really know what the reason would be for that besides um, the reprogression because it seems like they have good chemistry, but he's just not targeting him. I wish we'd be more disciplined. Penalties stifle momentum too much. Agreed. And I feel the beginning of the season, well, the first game was bad. I feel typically under Flus we don't have too many penalty issues, but I think part of the issue this year is just one having a rookie quarterback, especially because Caleb changes a lot of plays at the line of scrimmage, which I think can be very good, a very good indication of where he's at. However, um, it can also cause confusion because keep in mind this is a first year offense being installed for not just a rookie quarterback, but for everyone on this team. This is a new offense. So changing plays at the line of scrimmage can also make it difficult for the rest of the team. And I'm having deja vu right now. It's very weird. Anyways, um, so I think that can be part of the problem. And so, when they're already trying to work with a new playbook and then the quarterback is changing the play up at the line of scrimmage right away. And Caleb is a rookie, so he also might not be saying the correct plays or he might be getting something slightly off that could also be causing confusion. Um, And on top of that, we have an offensive line that is shaky, that is not very good, and probably prone to making mistakes. And I think we're going to see some flags, unfortunately, today on the offensive line for false starts and potentially holding calls because we're going to have some backups in. And yeah, I'm a bit nervous. Today's going to be another game where we're kind of killing ourselves with penalties, but we'll see. Hopefully, I'm wrong. I just saw Stevenson held himself out of practice after finding out he wasn't starting. Might not see him today after acting like that. Oh, that's interesting. I did not see that. Um, where did you see that? I saw, that he had seemed pretty receptive to everything and that everyone was saying that he was like he apologized to the team, he was a good sport, that Flus and him had a good conversation. So I didn't get any indication that he was going to be um didn't seem any indication that he was like upset by any means with this punishment. Like he knew he effed up. So that's interesting, but also I didn't hear that Friday he sat out of practice. So is this like a new report? Because that would be interesting if that's the case, especially considering it seems like it was pretty obvious that that was leaning that direction. Um, like leaning the direction of him not starting because he has to have some form of punishment. Um, Stevenson punishment seems like it's just for show to shut up media and fans. I mean, probably mostly. Like it seems like they did a lot of internal talk about it and they kind of got it covered. But you know, it's probably for the media and fans, but yeah, probably also for him. And uh, the coaches have to set a precedent too of, and it's not just a precedent to like Tyreek, but also to the rest of the players of not even so much if you do this, you'll get benched too, but also showing the players that are very passionate on this team, like a Cole Kmet, you know, we care about winning too. And if people are going to act like this, they're going to get benched. Um, and I think it's an important message to the players of people like Cole Kmet who are very passionate and are very much like, that's disrespectful to me and to this game and to this team who cares this much about this game that you weren't paying attention. So I think it's a mix. Just saw a tweet. They reported on Fox pregame. Oh, yeah, that's a that's a pretty valid source, I would say, for that then. I'm trying to find it. Mm, that's interesting that he really held himself out of practice. Like, what did he think was gonna happen? Like, you had to face some form of punishment. Like, just having a talking to wasn't going to be enough. Like, obviously, you were gonna face some form of punishment. So I find that interesting. Um, if he really did sit out, that's really disappointing because he is a good player, but his discipline is the biggest issue. He's always, been the scrappy guy at practice. He's picking fights with the other team. Um, and the dude is talented, but he needs to temper his emotions when playing the game, which I know is easier said than done as I'm sitting here talking about it. But like, if he wants to be a starter in this league, he's got to be able to not give up costly penalties because he's letting his emotions take control. Um, but I'm seeing people take this as that Eberflus has lost the locker room, which is a possibility. But I don't. The reports coming out definitely do not bode well for Eberflus. That is for sure. But I feel that the tune might change a little bit if the Bears come away with a win today. Um, I see a lot of doom and gloom about the coaching staff, which I think is warranted. But I think it will be interesting if the Bears win today and they win against the Patriots and then they come out and win like half their division games. The tune might be a little bit different. If the Bears beat the Packers, I don't know. I find it hard to believe that if the Bears beat the Packers and make a playoff push, that Flus is getting fired. But what do I know? I guess maybe it depends how the season ends too and how it looks. But this stain looks really bad on camera. It's not that intense in real life. Anyways, um, this is starting to feel eerily similar to Trestman level issues for Flus. Yeah, I don't know if I'd go as far as Trestman level issues, but it's definitely it's not looking great for Flus at the present moment. Um, I do think a lot of the positives that Flus brings are kind of being overlooked by everything happening now with the loss and everything else. But like I said, I think the fans get emotional too. And I think there is a very good possibility Flus is not the head coach next year. And I wouldn't necessarily be against that. However, I also think that if the Bears come away with a win today, a win later, a win in division games, like we might be talking about a different story suddenly in a few weeks. Although make sure your fantasy lineups are set. I have totally forgotten to check my fantasy because I was getting mad about losing to people's defenses. I'm not gonna lie. I need to do that. I need to do that before the game starts. I probably have people on the bench, don't I? That's nice. Um, well, guys, I guess that shows how bad I am at fantasy football this year. I probably have people that are starters riding the bench right now. Um, I'd like preset it for a few weeks out and then just not checked it. But I probably have people like on a buy or something. Um, thanks Aldo for reminding me. With all the issues with Flus coordinators last year, plus all the stuff now, it doesn't bode well for the Flus. Yeah, I agree. It's not looking good for him. Eberflus is done if this team does not make the playoffs. Yeah, I think if this team doesn't make the playoffs, unless it's like the Bears go on just a complete winning streak and still somehow um and still somehow end up not making the playoffs, then maybe there's a chance. But if the Bears miss the playoffs and they just have like a 7-10 season or worse, yeah, Flus. I think Flus is out. Share your team while you set up your lineup. I would, but I have to reinstall the app because I think I accidentally offloaded it from my phone, and I don't know how to I don't know my password from my internet browser to do it from here. So I'm gonna have to like take some time to go and fix that before the game starts. Otherwise, I would. But I know I have Jalen Hurts at quarterback. I have who are my tight ends? I have Laporta, I have Komet, and I have Hawkinson. I have DeAndre Swift, and I have Puka Nacua, and I have who else? Where am I? Najee Harris, and who are my other wide receivers? I don't even know. My wide receiver room kind of got depleted. I can't think of who my other wide receivers are right now. But yeah, that's the gist of my lineup. So I don't know who I must have benched right now. I need to take a gander at that. Oh, maybe I have Jamar Gibbs as another running back, I think. Calling it now, if we have a better record than last season, Bears are keeping Flus, playoffs or not. I agree. It's just how the Bears' way of doing business, slow as molasses to make changes. Yeah, like I said, I think it really depends on how the rest of the season goes. If we continue to struggle for the rest of the season, not looking good for the Flus. If we struggle and don't make the playoffs, not looking good for the Flus. If we go on a winning streak and still don't make the playoffs, Flus probably stays. If we make the playoffs, Flus probably stays. I think it really just depends on how the rest of the season goes and what our wins look like. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. But guys, it is about 10 minutes to kick off, so we're going to have to wrap up the stream so that everyone can get situated and get ready to turn, because it is a noon game, right? Or am I losing my mind? Oh, the game's at 3 today. I was thinking the game was at noon. I'm like, guys, the game starts in 10 minutes. We got to go. Why was I thinking it was at noon today? Okay, well, we have time. Just kidding. That's funny. I was thinking it was noon this whole time. But that's good to know. That means I have time to do groceries. For some reason, I had it in my head that today was a noon game. Interesting. Just kidding. We have time. Poles seems determined to prove he's not going to make the same mistakes with his QB that the previous GM did, giving his QB a rotation of offensive coordinators. Yeah, I think so too. And I think that's partially what makes Bears fans nervous is that it doesn't seem like Poles wants to skip over. It doesn't seem like Poles wants to do that. It doesn't seem like he wants to change up the coaching staff because he seemed very adamant in the offseason that this was different, and it's not looking different so far. So I think that it could be an interesting post-season conference with Mr. Poles, depending how the season goes for sure. Angus Quinn, that's typically something you would do. Yeah, I don't know why I'm like this, but I was sitting here thinking, shoot, it's a new game. I got to hurry up. I got groceries to do. Don't know when I'm doing those. Well, now I got time. So that's good to know. I do have to do groceries in a bit then, though. But I haven't given I meant to just read a few comments before giving my game prediction, but we got sidetracked. So it's time for a game prediction score prediction. So I really debated this one. I went back and forth. I'm feeling very uncertain about my prediction, but nonetheless, here it is. Drum roll, please. My score prediction for today's game, Bears versus Cardinals, is Bears 23, Cardinals 21. I'm giving the win to the Bears. I very much debated flip-flopping this score. I debated making the Cardinals win 23, Bears 21. And maybe this is even a bold take with having the Bears even score 23 points after how they performed last week. However, like I said, Caleb shouldn't be as amped up for this one. He shouldn't be as nervous for this one. And the defense should be able to still contain the Cardinals, but I do have concerns, and I think this game could easily go the other way with the Cardinals 23, Bears 21 if some things go wrong for the Bears. But if the Bears are able to get some turnovers, that would be ideal too. We didn't have any turnovers last week. I would really like to see the Bears secondary get some more turnovers. Obviously, having Brisker and Gordon out sucks. Having Tyreek Stevenson out, maybe their whole game, we'll see. It might suck. So it'll be tough. It'll be tough. But I still think this defense is good enough to hold the Cardinals down to under 21 points or less. And the Bears just need to score a few more to win. And let's hope that they do. Curious who's going to be, I assume it's going to be Jalen Johnson on Marvin Harrison Jr., but Marvin Harrison Jr. and Kyler Gordon have started to build up quite the repertoire too. So it's going to be interesting. Alexis, do you do Yahoo Fantasy? I do. I didn't do it this year, but I have in the past done Yahoo Fantasy. You could take us with you for your groceries. Yeah, I don't think that would be very thrilling. Half the time it's me just wandering. One time when I was living in New York City, I went to the grocery store and so this is just the story to give you what it's like grocery shopping with me. I went to the grocery store and New Yorkers, they're used to seeing odd ducks. It's like a melting pot of the world moves to New York City. So you see all sorts of different types of people all the time. But I walked into the grocery store and I remember standing like just past the entrance debating if I wanted to get a cart or a basket because in my brain I was like, I don't even really know what I'm getting. And like, I don't know how much I'm getting. And should I get a basket or a cart? And I just remember like standing there, like talking out loud to myself. And I was like, oh, well, I could get a cart, but then I don't know if I need that. So maybe I should get a basket. And I just kind of doing that to myself back and forth. And I just remember there's like this teenage, like maybe older teenage, like 19-year-old guy who was working the grocery store. And he just stopped, like he was bending over, like putting like fruit on the shelf. And he like stopped and looked over at me and went, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, sorry. And I grabbed a basket and just did my shopping. So that is what grocery shopping with me is like. So I really think it would just be chaotic and you wouldn't be able to follow along. And yeah, it would be interesting. Also, I don't know how great the service in the grocery store is in Hicktown, USA. So, but maybe I can make a vlog of game day grocery shopping. I don't know how many views that'll get, but if the people want it, then we can make it happen. We could do a game day grocery vlog. But that about covers it for my pregame predictions. I think this game is going to be a close one. I do think, unless the Bears surprise me, but especially with our offensive line pretty banged up, I don't have high hopes of this offense coming out and just annihilating the Cardinals defense. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it could go either way, but like we talked about at the beginning, it's kind of a must win here for the Bears. So getting nervous. I am people. I want it. Okay, Rome. I'll think about doing a game day grocery vlog just for you. But I think that is going to be a wrap on the podcast today. We are about an hour in, and I need to go do the grocery shopping that we just talked about. So I hope that you all have a good rest of your day. I hope that we are here later talking about a Bears win. And, for your Lions teams and every other team that you're rooting for, good luck, as long as you're not the Packers. If you're a Packers fan, sorry. Are you going to be live later today? Yes. So after the game later tonight, I will be live post-game to do our post-game reaction podcast. So hopefully we are talking about a Bears W later tonight for our live stream, but I guess that is to be determined. But thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you have a good afternoon. And if your game is starting in the next 10 minutes, then I hope you have a good game. If your game is the Bears game and we're watching it later, then I hope I see you later tonight talking about a Bears W. So 10 points in the first quarter, I'm down. Let's get it. We need to get something going in the first quarter. It's about damn time. But I appreciate you guys all for watching. I hope you have a good rest of your day. And I will see you, hopefully, later tonight for our post-game podcast. As always, I'm Alexis Jade, and this is the Shecago Bears, or Shecago podcast. Whoops, talking about the Shecago Bears. Okay, bye.